Let me tell you something that almost no one has the courage to say out loud. It's not money that defines whether someone is poor, it's behavior. There are people who are broke today, but on a path to growth. And there are people with salaries, status, and appearances completely defeated on the inside. Strange? Well, yes. And even stranger is that the world reacts much more to how you present yourself than to what you actually have in the bank. Perhaps this goes against everything you've heard about being yourself and not caring about appearances. But here's the paradox. The world doesn't read your intentions. It reads your signals. And wrong signals silently close doors. Not because people are bad, but because that's how the human mind works. It detects patterns. And patterns of surrender drive away opportunities before the conversation even begins. And no, this has nothing to do with faking wealth, buying expensive things, or living a facade. It has to do with something much deeper, refusing mental surrender, because true poverty begins when you lower your standards, relax your discipline, and start treating life as something without urgency. And when that happens, no matter how much you dream, destiny gets in the way. If you've ever wondered why some people get out of a rut while others remain stuck in the same place for years, even after trying, this video will show you what almost no one explains. There's an invisible game going on, and today you're going to learn how to play the game the right way, starting from the inside out. Broken is a phase. Poor is a surrender. You need to hear this. Two people can have a zero balance and live in different worlds. One is broken, period. The other has become poor on the inside, and then the problem isn't the balance, it's the identity. Because the most dangerous poverty doesn't first appear in the wallet. It appears in the way you walk, the way you talk, the way you procrastinate. And when a person starts acting as if they've already lost, the whole world reads that message as if it were a luminous sign. Now check this out. Being broken might hurt, but there's still dignity there. A broken person maintains the basics. They wake up at a decent hour, make their bed, shower with respect for their own history, and don't disappear off the map. They don't need to pretend to be rich. They just need to avoid the worst sign of all. The sign of, I've given up. And this is where many people get confused, because they think dignity is a luxury. It's not. Dignity is attitude. It's like saying, I'm on the ground today, but I'm not going to live on it. And do you know what detail almost nobody notices? The first sign of looking poor is invisible. It's the small standard you let slip. Today I'm not studying. Today I'm not working out. Today I'm letting the house become a mess. It seems silly, until it becomes a habit. And habit becomes identity. Then, when an opportunity arises, an interview, a client, a project, the person may want it, but their body reveals something else. Lateness, disorganization, lack of energy, lack of preparation. And that's where the next piece of the puzzle comes in. The signals you send out without realizing it, and how the world reacts to them. The world doesn't read intentions. It reads signs. No one gets promoted, chosen, or appointed based on their inner feelings. It's not about what you communicate, but about what you communicate outwardly. You can't see intention. What the world sees are signals. Small, repeated, silent. Posture, tone of voice, punctuality. Basic care. It's not about status, it's about trustworthiness. When someone looks at you, the unconscious question is simple. Does this person seem like someone I can trust? And here comes a somewhat uncomfortable, but necessary truth. Humility is not sloppiness. Humility is strength under control. Negligence is surrender disguised as authenticity. Some people say, that's just how I am, when, in reality, they're saying, I'm tired of trying. The problem is that the human brain associates messiness, delays, and ready-made excuses with risk. It's not malice, it's biology. The mind seeks predictability. And bad signs close doors before the conversation even begins. A practical example helps to make the point clear. Two people send out resumes. One reviews them, personalizes the email, researches the company, and does polite follow-up. The other sends out the same generic PDF and does nothing. Both want the job, but only one does. Signals preparedness, and this applies to everything: business, relationships, opportunities. The world responds to what you demonstrate, not what you promise. And that's precisely why the next point is so critical. The invisible pattern you maintain when no one is looking. Small patterns reveal great destinies. No one destroys their own life all at once. A person gradually lets small patterns fall. A schedule that becomes an exception. A commitment to oneself that becomes later. A basic self-care routine that turns into neglect. At first, it seems harmless. Just today. The problem is that the brain loves repetition. What is repeated becomes normal. And what becomes normal begins to define who the person believes they are. Here's a simple yet powerful idea. Identity becomes behavior. Behavior becomes result. People don't act like disciplined individuals because they believe in them. They believe in them because they act. It's the opposite of what they sell out there. First, you tidy your room, then your mind clears. First, you keep to the schedule, then confidence is born. James Clear talks about this in Atomic Habits. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. And a system is nothing more than a repeated pattern. He's seen it firsthand. Talented, intelligent people, full of potential, held back not by a lack of opportunity, but by loose standards, sleeps late, wakes up tired, constantly reacting to the day. In contrast, ordinary people with nothing extraordinary advance quickly because they keep their basics sharp. It's not glamour, it's consistency. And when someone maintains a standard even in difficulty, something silent begins to change inside. That's where the next point comes in. The most important reputation you build is the one you have with yourself. The silent reputation that decides everything. No one can deceive their own conscience. You might justify it to others, but deep down you know when you're sabotaging yourself. Every time you promise yourself something and don't keep it, a crack forms. It doesn't show on the outside, but it weighs on you. In the same way, every small discipline fulfilled builds something invisible, yet powerful. Self-respect, and without self-respect, no change can be sustained. That's why motivation alone isn't enough. Motivation fades. One day you wake up inspired, the next not so much. Those who depend on motivation become hostages to their mood. But those who create a system execute even when tired. Waking up at the agreed time, studying for 30 minutes, training with what you have, organizing your environment. All of this seems too simple to change a life. And that's precisely why it works. Because the brain begins to register evidence. I am someone who keeps my promises. Napoleon Hill called this invisible counsel. Within your mind, voices are constantly voting on who you are and what you deserve. When you act with discipline, the voice of greatness grows louder. When you act carelessly, criticism dominates. And this shapes future decisions without you realizing it. A person doesn't fail because they don't know the way. They fail because they stopped trusting themselves. And that's where a decisive factor comes in, that almost no one takes seriously. The environment as a reflection of identity. Environment is language, and poverty loves chaos. Napoleon Hill. He explains this with a simple metaphor. The environment speaks to you all the time, even when you're not listening. A messy room isn't just a mess. It's a silent message saying, "I'll deal with it later." A desk full of clutter isn't just a lack of time. It's an excess of mental noise. The human brain needs order to think clearly. When everything is chaotic on the outside, the mind goes into survival mode on the inside. And survival doesn't create wealth, it only keeps a person in their place. There's a reason why disciplined people start by organizing their space. It's not about aesthetics, it's about strategy. When you tidy your room, you save mental energy. When you create a routine, you reduce unnecessary decisions. When you simplify, you gain clarity. And clarity generates better action. Mental poverty thrives in disorganization because chaos is exhausting. It's exhausting to decide, exhausting to start, exhausting to continue. And a tired person accepts anything, including staying where they are. A real-life example. Two people earn the same salary. One controls expenses, organizes their schedule, and plans their week. The other is constantly putting out fires, forgetting deadlines, and making impulse purchases. It's not about income, it's about the system. The first person creates a margin for error. The second person creates stress. And stress leads to bad decisions, which reinforce the cycle. That's why order isn't fussiness, it's defense. It's telling the brain, there's control here. But here lies a dangerous, almost elegant trap using authenticity as an excuse not to evolve. And that's exactly what the next topic will dismantle. Mercilessly, but clearly. The comfortable lie of authenticity. Not all authenticity is a virtue. Some people use "I am who I am" like an old sofa. Uncomfortable, but familiar. It seems like freedom, but it's just resistance to change. True authenticity isn't about rejecting effort. It's about aligning effort with values. It's about being true to purpose, not lax in execution. Because, let's be honest, the world doesn't reward raw intention. It rewards consistency. The difference between real and fake authenticity is simple. Fake authenticity protects the ego. Accept me as I am. True authenticity challenges character. Am I willing to grow? When someone says they don't care about appearance, punctuality, or organization, it's usually not detachment. It's premature surrender. And the problem isn't moral, it's strategic. Appearance communicates. Behavior communicates. Silence communicates. You're always signaling something, even when you think you're not. We've seen this repeated many times. Brilliant people being ignored not for lack of talent, but because of mixed signals. Good ideas die because the bearer doesn't seem ready. Investors, leaders, partners don't bet on pretty speeches. They bet on visible execution capability, and this cannot be faked for long. That's why the next point is crucial. The game isn't about desire, it's about tolerance, and where you decide to stop. You don't stop where you want to. You stop where you tolerate. It's possible to sum it up with a sentence that hurts because it's true. Desire has no power. Tolerance does. Everyone wants more money, more respect, more freedom. But few people pay attention to what they accept daily. Life doesn't put you where you dream of going. It keeps you where you consider acceptable. If you tolerate mess, delays, and improvisation, that's where your reality stagnates. Not as punishment, but out of consistency. Look how this manifests in everyday life. A person says they want to grow, but tolerates sleeping late every day. They say they want to prosper, but tolerate uncontrolled spending. They say they want to change their life, but tolerate living with the same mental chaos. And repeated tolerance becomes a pattern. A pattern becomes identity. Identity becomes destiny. It's not dramatic, it's mechanical. It's like a thermostat. Reality always reverts to the level you accept as normal. Imagine two people with the same financial problem. One decides, this isn't acceptable, it's temporary. They tighten their belts, learn something new, cut excesses, and maintain their dignity. The other complains, waits, and gets distracted. Both feel pain. Only one uses the pain as a signal for adjustment. And that's where the game starts to change. Because when someone raises the bar of what's acceptable, Even by an inch, something internal reorganizes itself. And that leads to the next point, perhaps the most delicate of all. The self-image that governs everything without asking permission. Self-image is the invisible thermostat of your life. Each person carries within themselves a silent image of who they believe themselves to be. This image functions like a thermostat. When external reality tries to exceed what the self-image allows, something strange happens. The person sabotages themselves. Delays, carelessness, procrastination, bad choices, not because they want to fail, but because the brain tries to return to normal. Internal normality always wins over external desire. That's why some people make money quickly and lose it all, while others lose everything and rebuild. It's not luck, it's not bad luck, it's self-image. Those who see themselves as improvised create chaos without realizing it. Those who see themselves as reliable naturally seek order, and the detail that almost no one understands. Self-image doesn't change with empty affirmations. It changes with evidence. The brain only believes what is proven repeatedly. He often says, "It's no use looking in the mirror and repeating, 'I will win,' if your behavior screams the opposite." The mind doesn't negotiate with words. It responds to actions. Fulfilling small commitments, maintaining minimum standards, acting with self-respect even when no one is watching. This gradually adjusts the thermostat. 1 degree at a time. And when self-image starts to improve, decisions follow. But here comes the uncomfortable part, the part that many people mistake for a mistake. Growing hurts. And it doesn't hurt because it's wrong. It hurts because it's breaking with the old identity. And it's precisely about this discomfort and how to stop running away from it that the next point will address. Discomfort is not a sign of error. It's a sign of growth. Many people give up here. Discomfort doesn't appear to warn you that something has gone wrong. It appears to warn you that something is changing. The human mind loves the familiar, even when the familiar is mediocre. So when you start raising your standards, keeping to schedules, organizing your life, studying more, saying no to old habits, the brain reacts. You call it tiredness, doubt, laziness. But in reality, it's just resistance. The common mistake is interpreting this discomfort as a sign that it's not for you. And then the person reverts to the old pattern, not because it was better, but because it was familiar. Growth feels awkward. Always. It's like using a muscle that's been inactive for years. It hurts before it gets stronger. Those who understand this stop running from discomfort and start using it as a compass. If you're uncomfortable but aligned with your values, you're on the right track. He's seen this in people who decided to wake up earlier, study after work, and take better care of their bodies and homes. In the first few days, everything seems heavy. The mind complains, the body begs to stop. But if the person maintains the pattern, something silently changes. The discomfort diminishes, and the identity adjusts. And when the identity changes, the game changes along with it. And it is precisely at this point that everything begins to connect. Patterns, signals, self-image, discipline. Because when someone learns to not negotiating with one's own surrender, she enters a completely different cycle. A cycle that doesn't depend on luck, but on daily choices. It's this cycle that needs to be understood as a whole. And it's what ties everything that came before together. Now let me return the responsibility to you, in the best possible way. After all this, the question isn't whether you agree or disagree. The question is, what are you going to do differently today? What standards will you stop tolerating? What small signal will you adjust today to tell the world, and yourself, that this phase doesn't define who you are? Because understanding without applying is just intellectual entertainment. Look at your routine with brutal honesty. What time are you going to bed tonight? Is your environment helping or sabotaging you? Are you preparing for the life you say you want or just reacting to the day? You don't need to change everything at once, but you do need to change something, a pattern, a habit, a commitment to oneself. Small disciplines create evidence. Evidence creates identity. Identity creates destiny. And let me really tease you now. If someone were to observe her life for a week, what would she bet on? Are you in transition or surrendering? Are you building or just surviving? The world responds to signals. It always has. The good news is that you control those signals, starting today. If this video made you think, if it gave you that good kind of discomfort, then don't let it die here. Apply, act, adjust, repeat. And if you want to continue learning how to build discipline, mindset, and patterns that truly change your life, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Here, we don't sell shortcuts. We build a foundation.